Welcome to the $1 Million Listening Podcast. In this show, we aim to help people grow in all areas of life with the focus of getting to the next level. I'm your host, Mari Wines, realtor, marketing guru, real estate coach, and co-owner of E3 Realty. Mindset coach, intuitive coach, pranic healer, energy healer, and one of my all-time favorite people ever, Michelle McClintock. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
I'm so happy you're here too. I'm so happy I get to see you.
Thank you. Same.
So you do so many things. Do you want to kind of give a brief overview of the services you provide and what you're an expert at?
Yes, I would love to. So my background is energy healing. I'm a medical intuitive, hypnotherapist, mindset coach, intuitive coach. I have a lot of different names or titles that I might go by, but really what I do is working with people to help them shift their mindset and shift their energy and what's been going on in their lives so they can really step into who they want to be and grow and really improve their lives.
Yeah, so it's amazing how much is blocking all of us. I mean, I have personally worked with you, and it's amazing all the blockages we all have. And even though we did that work, I'm sure I have all new blockages right now.
Yeah, we all do.
And so even though the ones that we worked through like changed my life for the better in huge, huge ways, they come back. But what, out of all the services you just mentioned, what do you think is the most popular, or what are people coming to you for the most?
I would say lately it's been a lot of energy healing work as well as the medical intuition, because when we have things going on in our body that show up physically, there's always an energetic component behind it. There's always past or history that is showing up in the physical body. So people come and they're like, I'm having migraines, or I'm having these aches and pains that the doctors don't know what they are. And we look for what's the energy behind it, what's going on underneath.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy what the mind-body connection and all of that you're mentioning, how it impacts our health.
Yeah, it really is. And we don't always think about it, right? Because we automatically go to the doctor. Something's wrong with me. Something's hurting. Something's not working. Or we use words like I'm stuck, I'm blocked, I can't move forward, I can't find love, I can't find a better job. All of these things that we don't realize are this stuck energy or the mindset or the beliefs we have about ourselves that typically come from when we're younger, things that we've been through that we're carrying on the subconscious level that are showing up in our day-to-day life. And we don't really know that that's what's there until we dig into it.
Yeah, and I think everyone's pretty familiar with mindset. And then another term that you haven't mentioned yet, but it has to do with everything you're saying, is the childhood trauma is one of the big things that blocks all of us from being our best selves or stepping into our most successful selves.
Absolutely. And I will say most of the people that I work with do have some sort of childhood trauma, whether it's something that's big and huge that we might hear about, sexual abuse or, emotional abuse. There may be medical trauma. Maybe they were a child who was sick and they're bringing all of this to present day, or maybe they were in a household where they were ridiculed or belittled. And so their mindset and their outlook on themselves is in such a dark, negative space, and they don't even realize that that's where it comes from. We step into this, I'm not enough and I'm not okay. And that's all beliefs that we pick up when we're younger that really affect our mindset. So you're absolutely right when we talk about mindset and how you wake up every day and how you feel about yourself and your outlook on the world, which is mindset, can impact every corner of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we have these limiting beliefs that we may have started when we were 4 years old and we have no idea because of an experience we had. And even people who are like, I grew up in an amazing home, sometimes just a conversation with a teacher at a certain age that hurt their feelings could have created a limiting belief that's stopping them in their relationship or their job. Or the mind is complicated and we have to dig so deep.
Absolutely. And I'll share just, several months ago, I was again revisiting my belief system, and I had this old buried deep down in the depths belief that I wasn't important. And so when that came up, it was like, oh, wow, how is that showing up in my world? of feeling not important. And it can show up like in your relationship and your career. So, I see that so often of, going back to what were the messages you got from your parents, from your teachers, from the people who were important and critical in your life, and especially around body image and your intelligence and your importance in the world. And that can really interfere.
Yeah, definitely. And like for me, fear was one of them. It was huge, but I'm like this strong, determined, overachiever. Like you would never guess that fear. And I will call myself fearless in my day-to-day decisions. I'm fearless. I truly feel that way. But I had these deep down fears, and that's why I am the way that I am, to protect myself.
Exactly.
Because I was scared of what could happen if I'm not all of these ways.
Yeah.
And that's what was blocking me in my relationship, because my fear was like, you stay away. I got a good thing going here.
Yeah, exactly.
You are not ruin it.
Exactly. And so that fear can show up as I'm fearful and I don't do things, or I overcompensate so much that I'm doing all the things. And then you can burn yourself out, right? Because you're like, and you become so fiercely independent. I don't need anybody. I don't need anything. I've got this. And that's where it interferes in the relationships. But that's bred from that kind of fear of I'm going to mess up, or I'm not enough, or things aren't going to go the right way, or I'm going to do it wrong, right? So yeah, you did a great job moving through that, because I see that one often. If you're not feeling secure when you're a kid, if you don't feel secure in your world, that's very scary. And so that can show up in a lot of different ways, just like you mentioned. You may become someone who's really codependent, a real people pleaser. I see a lot of people pleasers in my practice who come and they're just so exhausted from making everyone else feel better while making themselves feel terrible. Yeah.
And mindset. Sometimes people think like, that's just who I am. I'm a fixer. I'm a pleaser. But it's so not true. I went through a phase like that where I was incredibly codependent, and I did everything. Diego and Ramsey never left the house without their lunches perfectly made, sunscreen, like you name it. And I don't do any of that anymore.
Good for you.
It's not who I am.
Right, because you figured out that you don't have to earn love that way, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to. Yeah.
So some people think they're stuck. It's just the way they are. But everything can be worked through. I think at any age. When Diego and I were both seeing you at the same time, and he was going once a week, and that was the first time he had really, well, not the first time he had done any work on himself, but in this sort of setting. And so it worked. We're changed people. I just asked him this morning I said, do you mind if I mention that you saw Michelle once a week on the podcast? And he said, no, she changed my life.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it was such an honor to work with him and with you both and see the transformation in both of you and how it brought you so beautifully together to where you are now. And that's just such a gift that you gave yourselves. By doing the work, you have to show up. You have to do the work. You have to get your hands dirty and really get in the weeds of your own mindset and your own beliefs and how you're seeing each other. Because I work with people who are so stuck in the space in their relationship, and not saying that this was you guys, of only seeing the bad in their partner, right? And when we can shift that, look for the good, look for their wounds, look for how we can love and support each other while you're doing your own work, it's life-changing. I had to do a lot of that work in my own relationship too. I've been married a very long time with my husband. So as your relationships evolve, also things sometimes have to change and shift and grow together. So I love that you guys are on this journey together and did that work together. It was really amazing.
Yeah, and I think that was like the ultimate, like we are committing because we know we're willing to do the work.
Yeah.
And as individuals, we're so complicated with all these limiting beliefs that we were just discussing. So when you combine two humans with all this childhood trauma, all these limiting beliefs, all of their stuff, it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, and you guys had so much history knowing each other for most of your lives. So there was all this extra history and extra baggage, if you will, that you guys had, things that had happened or experienced. You both bring your own experiences to the table. And how are we going to now come together so beautifully? And you are now. And I love that you said doing the work, wanting to do the work, because I get a lot of people who will call me up and how many sessions will it take and how much money is it going to cost me? And I'm like, it's how much work you're willing to do, how much effort you're willing to put into. So, my perfect person to work with, you and Diego are great examples, are ones who are going to show up and be vulnerable and really want to do the work and really want to examine themselves and look at and be open to having different experiences in your life. And you guys did a great job.
Yeah, that's actually one of my questions later on is how many sessions do most people do? But I will say that it got to the point where I just kept buying packages with you. Now that I know you're here, we're going to see you again.
Yay.
But it got to the point where I came in and I was like, everything's amazing. I don't even know what to talk to you about. I don't know what to work on. And we ended up doing, this is just something that you can help people with that hasn't been mentioned whatsoever. I don't know if you remember this, but it was my relationship with money.
Yeah.
Because I was like, work is good, relationship is good, family's good, I'm in peace, I'm relaxed, the stress is gone, anxiety is gone. And so we simply did what is my relationship with money to see if I had any blockages stopping me from getting to that next level.
Yeah.
And it was so cool.
Yeah.
I loved that. So,
yeah, we did that great money healing exercise for you. And it's so enlightening to see not only how you view money, but what's your relationship and how does money view you, which is the exercise that we did. And then also always looking at what are the beliefs that you formed around money growing up? What did you hear in your family? What came through your family line? Is there really strong lack or not enough energy around money? I work with a lot of people around that too, where they're like, well, I grew up and I was always told, don't ask for things. You're being greedy. There's not enough money. We have to penny pinch. Can't turn the air conditioner on. So then we grow up and we're trying to be abundant and we're trying to, especially in your line of work, trying to be an entrepreneur, trying to get out there and make money and sell. And you can get in your own way because there's this belief of, got to pinch the pennies. I can't sell the $1 million homes because, oh my gosh, people should not be spending that much money. I can only sell the $300,000 homes, right? So the money stuff can show up in relationships and most specifically in your career and really put a cap on how far you can go, and you're doing it yourself. You don't even realize it.
Yeah, but that was interesting. And so I think I left that day with a checklist of things I was going to do, and I still have that checklist.
You do?
Yes.
I love that.
And I still have I created a vision board. Well, I'll just give an example so people kind of understand. For me, she was trying to say we couldn't really figure out how I felt about money. And I work a lot. So I was tired. And you would ask me, well, what's the most exciting thing you spend money on? And I'm like, I'm not excited. I'm never excited. Yep. The most exciting thing I buy are plane tickets to Maui to go visit home. Yeah. And even when I buy them, I'm not excited because I'm like, okay, how am I going to get from this day to the day I have to get on the plane? Right. And so we figured out, to me, what would make me want to make more money was the freedom. Yeah. And so freedom costs money sometimes. Yeah. And so that was really the ticket for me. And it was, what are all the things that I could bring to my life that would give me freedom that I'd have to pay for? And then.
Right. And money supports your feeling of freedom. Yeah. Like a great mantra is money supports my peace of mind, right? Because people don't think about, oh, I need money. I have to do all these things and pay the bills. But that question of what do you do that's exciting? What do you do with the money that you make that's for you, that really lights you up? And are you just barely surviving and paying the bills so you have a really negative outlook on how money is in your world? And you can absolutely open the floodgates to abundance when you start doing that kind of work. Absolutely. Did you experience that? I'm curious.
Yes.
Yeah, good.
Well, I was already in a place where I was comfortable, and I think that was kind of my problem, is that my bills were always paid. Yeah. My money was always managed. Yeah. I could buy things. I didn't necessarily have time to even figure out what my hobbies were to buy. So I really needed that freedom piece to even see, like, what will I want to buy. My most recent purchase was a sauna. So
yes, I love that.
That kind
Congratulations.
Where before I wouldn't have even thought about that.
And I will often ask people, how much money would you be comfortable with? And I so often hear, well, I just need. I don't want to be greedy. You're not being greedy by asking for more, by saying, I want to shop without limits. I want to take my family on vacations. You don't have to put a cap on it. You want to open it up so that there's just this universal abundance that can come to you. And once you can do that and get comfortable in that space, the money starts to come. It's pretty amazing.
And then another thing that's really expensive for people, so they kind of hold back from spending money on, unfortunately, is health. And there's so many different avenues that we could spend money on health. And even like working with you, mental health to me is most of your physical problems are from your mentality. So anytime anything's hurting or I don't feel good, I'm like, okay, stress, what happened? Yeah. I know that it's not actually coming from the physical me. But now it's like once you get in the habit of doing that and the money's coming to you and something happens with your health anyway, you're happy to spend it. And so that's what I think, because our health is the most important thing we have.
Absolutely. I agree. And, sometimes we try to go to the doctor, we get on a medication, but we haven't shifted anything in our mindset and the way we see the world, and we haven't done any of that deeper healing. So it's just a Band-Aid. So then you're like, well, this medicine's not working. Well, it's not meant to be quite that magical, right?
Yeah.
There's work that still has to be done, and a lot of people can do that work and then just get off the medication or feel really amazing, and it's just great in tandem with anything you're doing also with the doctor.
Yeah, for the most part, it is just a cover up, though.
Yeah.
And it might help relieve whatever there is. And don't get me wrong, I will take the medication for the relief.
Absolutely.
But yeah, there is the deeper work, and there's always the deeper work. And I'm kind of like, let me take this medication temporarily until I have time to dig deep. So
yeah. Absolutely.
So,
but seeing people that show up, that are having a lot of anxiety. I see a lot of anxiety right now. And often it is just this kind of underlying fear of where they're at, what's happening, where they're going, and it's showing up as this physical symptom of anxiety. And once we can figure out where that's coming from and work on healing that, people see huge shifts in their energy and their anxiety, just feeling calmer. And that's what I want for everybody.
Yeah. And so we are talking about all these like heavy topics and the most important topics in life, I would say. And so I just want to talk about how when I started working with you, how we get, because people are probably like, how do they solve these problems? These are like the biggest problems in the world. And they just do it by talking.
Yeah.
But all of us with all these blockages, you start by getting, I don't know if that's the right way to say it, so maybe you can explain it better than I can, but getting me or Diego or whoever you're working with into a pretty deep meditative state.
Yeah.
And so do you want to kind of explain the flow of how a session with you would go? And
yeah, absolutely. So if you're doing a healing session with me, then you're going to come and we're going to talk, and we're going to do a little bit of what's going on for you. How are you showing up today? What would you like to focus on? Because it's always your session. And then I have some music that I play, and, some people do need a little bit more talking in, almost like hypnosis of here, you can calm down and focus on this. And then what I'm doing as you're relaxing in this meditative or hypnotic state is really looking at the energy and the pockets of stuck energy. So if you think about everything that you do in life can create like an energy imprint on you. So after a long time, you might have a lot of different imprints on you that feels like all this stuck energy. You can feel really heavy, really foggy, cloudy in the head. So I kind of describe it as you get all these cotton balls around you that are really heavy and you can't see clearly anymore, clearing the cotton balls out. And we don't always need to know exactly what everything is, right? Sometimes let's shift the energy. We look at the chakras, we look at the aura, we look at the flow of energy in the body. It's kind of like you can have a kink in your hose. And so I'm clearing that out and rebalancing the chakras, which are the energy centers of the body that keep us feeling our best emotionally, physically, mentally. And so, during the session, then you just get to relax, and I'm clearing all that energy out for you. And then at the end, I always like to give a summary. Here's what came up for you. I noticed that you're holding a lot of fear in the heart space. Do you want to talk about that and give space to kind of talk about that and talk it through where that might be coming from, where I think it might be coming from? And so then we can look at next steps for clearing that out even more.
Yeah, and so you get into this meditative state, which kind of just takes all your everyday stresses away. You're not thinking about that anymore, and you're actually able to feel you.
Yeah.
And so then you would sometimes add in, like, is it like neuro-linguistic programming, or what is the imagery? The imagery is what would like get me. What is the name of that?
I think the visualization.
There we go.
The visualization for people is really powerful.
Yeah.
And I love to have you go into the visualization yourself, and we see what we see together and what can be cleared in that space, because visualization is really powerful, whether it's like visualizing yourself healthy, whole, and healed, visualizing yourself as a millionaire, visualizing yourself as part of manifestation. Mm-hmm. So in this healing, we're also doing this visualization to manifest and to help you get to where you want to feel your best, healthy, and whole. right? Healed and whole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the visualization
It's so fun.
exercises
Yeah.
and the neuro-linguistic programming. But the visualization, you would ask me things. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to tell her. I'm not going to be able to see what she's asking me. And then I'd be like, holy shit, I see it.
Yeah. Yeah, like when I do a past life regression with someone and they're like, "Oh no, I can't do that. There's no way." And I'm like, "I have 100% success rate with this process. Everybody can do it." And then people are always so surprised, and we always feel like we're making it up when we're in that place. But I just say, just let go of the monkey mind and just say the first thing that you see, because you're going to see everything there. So you were so great at that too. And you have to be open and willing. And you were like, yes, I want to do this. I want to see this. I want to experience this. And it's so fun.
Yeah. And I mean, people might be a little bit hesitant or fearful, but it changed our lives. Diego and I have a relationship that I never thought I would have my whole life. Like, I grew up saying, like, I'm never getting married. And every relationship I had never felt like this. And like, now the fact that we're like, sometimes I'm like, I don't even want to do anything else in life. Like, I just want to enjoy you, because I can't believe that I found you and I like you this much.
I love that so much.
And I still like you this much.
Yeah. And if you think about maybe where that came from for you, like, what was it like growing up with your parents, or the relationships that you saw? So if you grow up where you see relationships that are unhealthy and they're fighting, and you think, God, relationships are so hard. I don't ever want to feel that way, the way that I see my parents feel, or my grandparents feel, or my aunt and uncle. I don't want that. And so we can subconsciously block that. I don't want it. And then we say we want it. Oh, I really want to find love. But you have that mindset block, that subconscious block that's saying, heck no, I don't want that. That's hard.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Or relationships don't last.
They don't last. Yes, they don't last.
So it's like, why do it anyway?
Yeah. Why even bother? It's just a waste of my time. I'll just get my heart broken.
Yeah.
Because we see that over and over again, people who are in unhealthy relationships. Yeah, that's when I see a lot. I work with a lot of women who grew up with dysfunctional relationships with the parents, whether they were together or not, sometimes together, and the constant fighting is a lot harder on kids. And then they grow up and they have trouble finding love. They keep seeking for it, but then they're afraid of it, or they're attracting the wrong kind of partners because they don't know what a healthy relationship looks like. So that's where visualization comes in good too. How do you want to feel? What kind of a partner do you want? And I think you and I did that.
Oh, yeah.
And Diego checked the boxes, right? Yeah. You're like, oh my gosh, I have this person.
Yeah. And do you want to know what we actually do? I want to say every year. I don't know if it's every year, but once in a while, he'll be like, if we're not connecting on something, or if we wish something was a little bit better, he's like, can you just add that into your paragraph? And so sure enough, I'll go edit it and add in whatever's missing. And that's part of the checklist.
Yeah. And the checking in with each other too is really important. You know, me and my husband will check in, you know, what's working, what's not working, especially when you feel disconnected with your partner. It's really important to just do that quick check-in. What's going on? Let's reconnect, because you can get really far apart if you're not doing that.
Yes.
And that's when then we start to, the stories in our head start to go crazy. So yeah, you guys are doing great.
Yeah. So he'll say that, and I'm like, yep, I got it. I got
this.
Don't worry, I'm on it. So I know we've mentioned all these topics, but I'm guessing anxiety is probably one of the most common reasons people come. But are there any other topic? What are the most popular topics that people come to you with, or you know what I mean?
I would say I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, women who are entrepreneurs who are struggling to build their business. That's been a hot topic for me, I would say, over the last year or two. I'm working with a lot of women who are business owners, light workers, and just to help them clear the blocks that are keeping them from expanding their business. Yes, and then the anxiety, especially during the pandemic. A lot of anxiety came up for people, medical anxiety. But I think that right now, really, the entrepreneurs are who seems to be coming in droves, you know, just wanting to be in that space, but not quite knowing how to shift their mindset to where they're attracting their ideal client, because we all do have the perfect people we want to work with and the perfect business we want to have, and really getting clear on that and clearing out any blocks to that. And you can just see your business like go places you hadn't imagined.
Yeah, so it's funny because here we have our brand manager program, and it's a brand manager program, and it's building your brand, but really and that's my department. And I'm like, what do you want your life to look like?
Yes.
Because your brand, we're going to build your brand around that. And we want your tribe to come to you.
Yes.
I have clients I love to work with more than others. And it's so nice when I get the people that I enjoy working with, because when you're in real estate, you're texting someone from morning to night, 30 days straight, sometimes longer.
Yeah.
And so we have each agent building their personal brand here. And really it's to attract their tribe. But I would love to help the women that you work with. I have like the best tricks and little things to get your online presence set up. It's like a one-time thing. So I would love to volunteer my time if you ever want to.
I would love that. I have a couple women I have in mind already.
That would make me feel so good.
Yes, because marketing's not my jam. But what I love about your approach is you're saying, how do you want to live? How do you want to feel? You know, and it's like, what do you want your life to look like every day? Mm-hmm. Do you want to only work 2 days a week, 3 days a week? Do you want to spend more time with your kids? Mm-hmm. What's the goal? And then build into that instead of building and then trying to conform it.
All out.
Yeah, start from there. What feeds your soul? Because you're more likely to stick with it and be successful.
Yeah. I know we've talked about this also the whole time, but I have a question here. What is one of the ways most commonly that you see people in their own way? And I know it's really in every topic and we've been talking about it over and over again, but is there something you see pretty repetitively?
100%. The belief that they're not enough. That's the belief. I'm not enough. I see that constantly, and it shows up as I'm not good enough. That's not for me. I'll never get there. I'll never do that. You know, I'll never make this kind of money. I'll never have this kind of partner, because there's a really deep core belief that they are not good enough. And, you know, that causes people to really pull within themselves and shy away from taking risk. Yeah.
Well, and especially like in the world that we live in, it's hard to be enough because there's so much now. There's so much. And it gets worse and worse.
Yeah, it gets worse and worse. And it's not just, you know, you don't make enough money. You're not pretty enough. You're not skinny enough. You're not this. You're not that. You know, it's you know, this constant, you know, trying to make yourself be something else instead of celebrating and enhancing or encouraging or enlightening who you already are, making your own light brighter instead of trying to make it different, right? Because everyone is so unique and wonderful and beautiful, and so it's really tapping into their specific light, right?
Yeah. I think depression is really common because we are trying to be enough and do all these things, and like you said, have the body, have the career, have the family, be an amazing mom, be an amazing friend, go on girl trips, like all these things. But when you actually do this kind of work and figure out who you are, you're like, oh my gosh, it's all around me and I love it.
Yeah.
And Diego and I always say, like, you know, we could just live up, like, here's what we need to be happy. And it's like 3 things.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't need any of that.
Exactly.
And so when you get to that point, it's very empowering, and it allows you to take those risks because you're, what do I have to lose?
Yeah, exactly.
I already have my 3 things. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And kind of taking stock of, do I really need all of this? Is this really do I really want all this? Do I really have to drive that car? Do I really have to, you know, live in that space? And what makes me happy instead of what makes other people happy? I see that a lot too. People trying to do what other people want them to do and be who other people want them to be. And they're miserable, and they're not finding their own joy. So that's really important. And then, you know, I will get the woman who's, I'm just so tired and I'm this, and I'm like, you're describing a bit of depression to me. Let's dig into that. You know, let's talk more about that. Where's that coming from? How are you feeling?
So I know we talked about the number of sessions that people need, and I'll ask you, but I will say that I already mentioned that I would just keep buying the packages. And even after that money exercise before, I mean, now I don't work weekends, which is amazing. And I've tried to lighten my Friday load, which is extra amazing. But before, when I was seeing you, I worked Thursdays were the only day off. And I had to force myself to take Thursdays off. And so I would start my only day off of the week with you. I'd go get a juice, I think, either before or after. But I just remember leaving, and after being in that deep meditative state, just feeling like amazing, like feeling high, feeling like I was like walking on clouds. Like, it doesn't matter anything that I just even talked about, because I feel so good right now. And so maybe you can talk about the number of sessions people need, or if there's certain topics that require more.
Yeah, so it depends on what the goal is, depends on how they're showing up, how much work they've done already. So if it's someone who's, you know, done a fair amount of work, and they're, you know, which tends to be the people that I tend to work with, they've done some amount of work, we're trying to go kind of next level and really get them feeling a whole lot better. We can get you feeling better in just a couple sessions. I would say my package of 4 is the most popular, but I find a lot of clients, they do 4, 4, 4. So, you might work with me for 3 months. My goal is to never have you work with me forever. My goal is to get you to where you're feeling really good. And then maybe you just come and see me when, things are hard or you need some shifting or, like you're talking about, things have been crazy.
Yeah.
And just to lighten the energy load for you. So I would say anywhere from 4 to 12 sessions for most people, just depending where they're at in their journey and what the goal is.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm such a believer in the work that you do that I would get gifts for people. And I'm like,
yes.
And I'm just going to go with you and do it myself.
Yes, you have.
I'll
Thank
just
you
check
so
in.
much. Yeah. And your faith in me is so wonderful and so appreciated. Thank you so much.
Well, of course. But yeah, you made a huge difference. I think if anyone is like with their life partner and they know they want to be, but it just seems like things aren't good, I highly recommend
Thank you.
You for them.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. People usually show up for a session and they feel heavy or they feel tired or they just don't feel good or they feel off. And by the end of an hour, they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how much lighter I feel. That's the word I hear a lot. I feel so much lighter, as if a weight's been removed, actually physically off of you. And you're like, and I can see the change in people's faces. They're glowing and their eyes are brighter. And it's just, when we're carrying around so much of that heavy or negative energy, it's like carrying around a weighted vest all the time. We don't need to do that. And a lot of people don't realize how good they're going to feel until they have a session. Then they're like, holy cow, I didn't know I could feel like this. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just the beginning.
It's cool to watch. Yeah. And I get my own healing, trust me, because I know. I know.
Well, thank you so much for coming on this show.
Thank you.
By the way, I don't even know if I told you, but the purpose of this podcast is to help people get to the next level in every area of their life. And so you were my first non-real estate person on the show.
Oh, I'm so thrilled.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Where can people find you if they are interested in working with you?
Yep, my website is the best place to find me, www.michellemcclintock.com. All my information, my services is on there. You can book straight through my page. You can go. I'm on Instagram a bit. I'm not super huge social media gal. Good intentions, and that's Healings by Michelle. But yeah, my website is the best way. And if you have any questions or want to set up a free consultation to see if my services are right for you, you can just reach out to me through my website.
Perfect. Well, thank you. I can't wait to schedule some sessions with you right after we hang up right now.
Okay, I'm ready. Thank you so much.
Thank you.